which existed before time. Socrates called it the heavenly pattern, which anyone can discover, and once they have, it will change their trajectory and establish them in the authentic true self. I think that is so good. You know, there's certain terms right now that people are staying away from because of how they're connected to a perception that I think is a perception from the more, better word, ego world, and that is the idea of new order. That's become a word that's not good, because the new order means, to those who are a lot of conspiracy theorists and all that, that the 1% of the world is setting in a world order that will benefit them. Well, that is attempting to be done, no doubt about it. That there is an agenda out there by those who hold the power in 3D, who want to use it for their own good. But at the same time, you got to realize that everything that is in the ego world is a reflection of what's in the real world. Because that's all the ego can do. The ego has no truth. And if you're a Course in Miracles person, the ego really, it doesn't exist in the first place. It's just a part of the human mind that has disconnected from the belief in oneness with the divine creator, in a belief of separation. So it's a part of ourselves. So we can't make the ego the bad guy out there. We can't make it the new religious Satan or the devil, which is what the ego wants to do, because that'll make you then feel like a victim to it, because it's not you. And if you don't think it's you, then you won't take responsibility for changing it, because then you need somebody to come and untie you from the railroad track. You understand? You go back to the third dimensional melodrama of having that villain, the hero, and the victim, right? And that's what I think Shakespeare was referring to when he said the world is a stage, and we're just players on it. We're playing out this drama, this third dimensional drama, which we need this to make that. I mean, how would you know who the hero was if you didn't know who the villain was? And then what good would they do if they didn't have a victim to rescue? So this is where we need to change the story completely, and realize that we ourselves, there are aspects of ourselves that's playing the part of the villain. There's a part of ourselves that is playing the part of the hero, and there's a part of us playing the part of the victim. So it's all about our projection of ourself. And until we own that, we're not going to change anything. So we're still kind of in a place that we think the right guru, the right politician, the right somebody out there is going to come and rescue us. How long will we keep doing that? How many times in elections have you thought, this is the right one? This is the one that's going to save us all, to become disillusioned with it? And we're doing that again right now with the new administration. And we'll continue to do that because we don't take the responsibility that it is the extension of ourself. So healing begins with ourself, is what I'm saying. When enough of us individually own our power and owns this whole drama that has made the world what it is today, and then reach critical mass, that's the key. It's not about just you, but it's about, starts with you, and then when you find somebody that has a matching vibration and shares that same consciousness, join with them until each one joins to a point in which we create the critical mass, right? And that's when the planetary change is really going to shift. And I do think that's happening more than we realize. I just don't think I think it's the least published thing. I think we hear more about breakdown, we hear about chaos, war, and all those kind of things. It's what filters more into our homes, whether we listen to it or not. Even though you think you've turned off the news, you've not turned off the airwaves that is going through your house all the time. So that's where you that understand using the tuning forks or using different methods of protecting yourself, you should do that in your home. You should use that little crystal tuner. You need to use whatever tools you've learned about that is able to clear your space. Would be a good thing to do, maybe even more than one time a day. Maybe it should be done because it has revved up and intensified itself so much. So I just wanted to start with this, that we have the ability to look beyond the chaos that we see with our five senses and see an order coming in. Now that's the real, it's not a new order. It is a restoration of spiritual order. We don't need a new order. We got to watch this new thought, new age, new this, new that. It's not new. It is a return to the original. And the brain says, oh, well, that's new to me. But it really wasn't, because it's recorded deeply in your Akashic records of your soul. There's nothing new under the sun, it says. We've just forgotten it. We've detached ourselves from it. And now we're beginning to be reconnected. So it's not about them and the new order. It's about spiritual order breaking through the old order that is breaking down into a state of chaos. And it says that this has existed before time. Socrates has called it the heavenly pattern. I really like that. Now, when you get into 6D or sixth dimension, that is the place where geometrical patterns are, right? So it's like changing the pattern. And remember, all of these, you don't have to go to them because they all exist in every other dimension. You can access 6 now if you're an awakened third dimension person. People are already accessing fifth dimension, don't even know it. Every time that you have that love come through you that is not tainted with perception of right and wrong, good or bad, or condition. I love you because. If all of that gone and you have that fifth dimensional pure energy, that agape energy to come through you, that's fifth dimension being experienced while you're in a third dimensional body. You that play with crystals and are drawn to crystals and the elements of the minerals of the earth, 2D, are accessing 2D while in 3D. You that are doing exercises of connecting to the core of Mother Earth and finding that spin of that core plasmic spin of the core of the earth, 1D in 3D. So I want to make it clear to you, it's not about I have to go here and I have to go there. It's that I have to repattern my consciousness to become multidimensional and not linear. Because if I think I'm here, then I need to be there. And when I get there, there's another here and I need to get there. And this is the path that goes nowhere. The true path is the one who awakens and realizes that anything that you are seeking to find has already been available in the vertical. Remember that? The vertical. So all these dimensions are vertical. They're not linear. But the human brain is linear. So we see one. That means if I'm a one, I don't have two, I need to get it. If I don't have two, I need to get three. So it puts us on this constant belief that I lack something and need to get it. Now that's not spirituality. That's a religious thing. But it's not spirituality. Spirituality is the person that knows that anything that ever was, is, and anything that can be is now. Which is Ecclesiastes, the first chapter in the 6th verse. It says, anything that was, is, anything that can be, is now. There's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of what's happening in your life is a retuning of the human consciousness to become multidimensional. And when it does that, then you will be able to access whatever dimension you need to access at the time you need to access it. So I like that, the heavenly pattern, which anyone, not just some guru or some great teacher or some messiah, can attain. Anyone. And once they have found it, it will change their whole trajectory, the whole direction they're going. I think it'll stop you in your tracks is what will happen. I don't think it'll lead you off to another path. I think it'll stop you on your path, and then you'll look up and see, oh my God, it's all right here now. I don't have to go here, 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 here. So that's why we do things like exercises with the Om tuner when we do the A, E, I, O, U, right? A, E, I, O, U is linear. But if we go A, I, O, U, and do it all vertical at the same time, these are exercises to retrain the brain to become multi-dimensional in consciousness. Anyway, I just thought that's good. I just want to keep sharing that because I think it says so much to us right now. All right, we are basically continuing in 3D. 3D is the one you wake up to every morning. You wake up in 3D. You wake up in a third-dimensional world. Therefore, you see third-dimensional systems. And when you look at third-dimensional systems, you see that they're in a state of entropy. They are breaking down. And the brain tells you, well, look, everything is just gone to hell in a handbasket. And that will be that way to you until you're able to look beyond the filter of 3D and behold new patterns that are coming in from 6D to restructure those systems. There is a better educational system. There is a better financial system. People are concerned about their money. That's a 3D thing. Hoarding money in 3D, I'm not sure that's the answer. I'm just not sure that's the answer. That's something you have to work out for yourself, but I'm not sure even hoarding up gold and silver and all kinds of stuff like that is going to be the answer for you. I don't exactly know what these new models exactly look like, but I know there are better evolutionary models of systems that are coming in. And of course, I've been teaching that from the Bible for a long time when it says that the kingdoms of this world shall become the kingdoms of the Christ. That's a scripture. Kingdoms are systems. The systems of this third dimensional world will become the new systems of what we're calling the fifth dimensional world. Now, you take the medical system, for instance. I know a lot of us are skeptical of a lot of the medical profession that has chosen to stay in the 3D model of medicine, which I call textbook diagnosis. In other words, we're all seen the same from the textbook. But that isn't every doctor and every caretaker and every medical person. There is a shift among many of them that are moving to more functional medicine. They're moving toward more energy. They're moving toward alternative or integrative. That's more available than it's ever been since I've been in this work for all these decades. You have options. So to me, that's the shift of making the old third dimensional model of medicine is restructuring itself to become a more fifth dimensional, which will work with energy. And you will find those who will diagnose you more energetically. And it's the same way with everyone I could mention. Not everything is bad in the educational system. That's all we hear about. But there's some really good educational groups out there. I know when we knew the school at Unity of Charlotte, which is really growing over there. It's huge now because it was an alternative system where the kids came in and told them what they wanted to learn. There wasn't a curriculum from the teacher, but actually the children was a part of the curriculum for the school. And that's growing, and it's growing all over the country and the world probably, that these new schools, I call them, are showing up with a whole different system of the way we teach. Here at HeartLight, I like to think that we are part of a new model for religion, of a new model that Spirit is trying to put together and repattern us. So this is, if you look at it that way, it's an exciting time to be here. If you really can hold on to the vision. All right, so 3D, we learned that every dimension has keepers. 1D is the only one that does not have a keeper. 2D is the elemental keepers. So that's what we've called fairies and things that are over the earth. The trees, the plants, the water, all of that. These are the elementals. But 3D was given to human beings. We are the keepers of third dimension. How we doing? How are we doing? Mainly because old third dimensional systems have pretty much taught us to give our power to other systems because we believed they were the keepers. At one time, I thought the church was the keeper. The ministry was the keeper, right? And we gave our power to them, just as we gave our power to the doctors of 3D. I mean, you didn't question doctors at one time. You didn't question your minister at one time. This was the man or woman of God. What they said was actually God speaking. And that's all changing. People are moving away from that. So I wanted to read really where this kind of happened. I'm going to use the Bible to do it because I'm going to show you a little bit here how on the 6th day of creation. Now, days are not 24-hour days. We all know that, I hope, that things weren't done in 6 days, all creation. But they were done in the morning and the evening of a day. And that means the beginning and the ending of a cycle. There is a morning to a cycle, and there is an evening of a cycle. And that cycle could be thousands of years. Because even the Bible says 1 day is 1,000 years with God. So you can't get into the specific of third dimensional time keeping, right? You got to get into what I like to call seasons. The Bible says that there is a season to everything. There's a season. So in the 6th day, which is interesting, God created man in his own image, and the image of God created he them, male and female. Why do these Bible people see this stuff in their own Bible, that he didn't create the man and then went over here and created the woman? He created the man, both male and female, and called their name Adam. They shared the same blood, which at that time wasn't blood but light. They both came from the light equally. And God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful. I want you to get the feeling here that this is being put on God's creation for 3D, is that you be fruitful. Now, I could get into some controversy there, but probably this is where I most agree with such teachings of Catholicism and whatever, that maybe we shouldn't just have kids without divine rhythm. But you see, the old teaching is, if somebody conceives and brings forth a child, that was God. No, God gave you the power to be fruitful. You got to use it. And we've not used it well until I forget the numbers of how many kids are dying and starving every day on this planet. And then you got kids that come in and we don't know what's wrong with them because they're angry and they're mad because they did not come in at the right time of their incarnation, but they've been jerked out of heaven because two people came together and conceived a body that had to be occupied. Oh my goodness, I should not get into this. Children are not conceived mindfully. They are conceived out of the power of the lust side of reproducing out of the second chakra. The second chakra was made for the attraction of reproducing. Now, I'm not trying to take away the pleasure of sexuality. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that people should be careful about when they form a body for a soul to incarnate. That's all I'm saying. And some of you that have several kids have a kid that's really good and adjusted over here, and you got a kid that's been in trouble from the very beginning, that don't even want to be here. And they're angry to be here. You have to think about these things because I know you haven't thought of them. Maybe you have, but I doubt it. Seriously. So God said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. He's giving that to mankind that he created in his image. You are the keepers. I give you the power to keep the earth in my image and in my likeness. You will have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth is in your charge. How you treat animals, how you treat vegetation, how you treat the earth, how you treat the fowls of the air is all in the keeping of 3D humans. How are we doing? God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which it is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. Do we go there? Meat is every fruit of the tree and seed, not animals. To every beast of the earth and to every fowl of the air, God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was good. And this was the evening and the morning of the sixth day. And God gave dominion to man over all the earth. Take a breath. Until we take the responsibility of the shape that this planet's in today and quit blaming everybody else and everything else and looking for some kind of answer to come and rescue us, I don't think things are going to change that much. Right now, my biggest concern is the imbalance between human consciousness and technology. I think this is Atlantis replaying itself again because I think it's written in our DNA, because I believe that most of us that are walking into this path of enlightenment are the reincarnations of Atlantis beings and souls. Atlantis was on its way. It was scanning people with vibration and light and all kinds of crystals. And there was no surgeries or no whatever. They had this spiritual. Then they went into the more technical side of it and stopped growing and evolving consciously until there was such a space between the level of their consciousness and the technology that they were bringing forth and inventing, until it caused the demise of that entire civilization. Are we going to play that out again? We are, if we don't understand our power. Psalms 90 says, verse 3, I believe, and God turneth man to destruction, to say, return, ye sons of men. Return, ye sons of men. What does that mean? Here's what I see it as. God allows man to a state of destruction. Now, the word destruction is tough there, because it doesn't mean to destroy and come to the end of something. It means to allow it to enter into a state of complete chaos. In other words, the patterns are destroyed. You can't destroy energy, but you can destroy a pattern. So if we continue the path we're on and destroy all of these systems and patterns as they were to be, we have to start all over again. We have to start all over again. And I don't know how many times we've started all over again to be with you. You know, the term Genesis is kind of interesting. I did a research on it. And it says in the beginning, but when I traced it back to the original, it was a word that was plural. It was in a beginning or beginnings. So beginnings are a continuous cycle of beginnings. It's not one beginning and then it all ends. It is the fact that you can begin again. I have to just say, I watched a fantastically interesting movie. Yesterday I finished it finally with Nicolas Cage, who I really, really like. I think he's a great actor, but I just happened to have met him at a convention, an alchemy convention in Las Vegas a few years ago. And so I feel I have this little connection with Nicolas Cage. But I think he's a great actor. But he always does movies that have a meaning to it. And I won't go through this whole movie with you. It's called Knowing, if you're interested to look it up on Netflix or somewhere. But it was concerning the end of the world, actually. And how that his son, who was 11 years old or so, and another woman had a daughter, and how beings came from the light space and chose those two to go back with them because the world was going to be destroyed and they would become the new Adam and Eve to start again. And I thought, that's so cool. That's exactly what I see. The question is, can we be the generation? I'm going to get this. I want you to get this. This is a scripture too. Can we be the generation to not walk as our forefathers? Are we going to carry on the patterns that have begun that brought us to this place we're in right now? Or are we going to intervene through the invention and stop it and repattern it before the end or the destruction of it? That's the imminent importance right now of making sure your priorities are in the right place. This is not a Sunday and a Wednesday thing anymore, but this is a commitment to get involved. Now, you may get involved for more prayer, more meditation, more contemplation. I don't know what your thing is, but we all need to start taking our power back more from 3D. And let me tell you, the hardest thing you're going to have is letting go of a bunch of 3D events that you become so attached to emotionally that you don't know how to give them up. And I'm speaking to myself. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to me. I'll just let you listen. The art of letting go is so important right now. And I'll get into that some other time, but it's just important that we let go of some of our things that we've become familiar with so much that we've attached ourselves to it that actually we've transferred our power into it. And that's mostly why we keep it going, even though it's things that caused us pain and caused us unhappiness. We see it from the rearview mirror as something that was good from our perception now. And I think that's the whole thing about Make America Great Again. Now, I'm not trying to be political about it. I'm just saying the worst thing I can think of is to think that the answer is back to what things were 50 years ago, 100 years ago, or 200 years ago in this country. That's totally ridiculous. My God, if you think that, go read the history of this country and what it's done from Native Americans to African Americans to Irish people to you name it. Italian people, yes. My goodness, we do not have a good record. And you want to return? No, the answer is the vision. The vision. So anyway, I didn't plan to get into all this, but that's what 3D means, and we're the keepers of it, is that we ourselves must change our perception. We must change the way that we see situations. We learned that where we left off last time was that this information claims to be channeled by the Palladians, which I am okay with because I've connected to the Palladians for years. Every time I heard the word Palladian and didn't even know it was in the Bible, in Job's 38th chapter. I thought the Bible mentions the Palladians? I don't think people knew about the Palladians supposedly at the time of the Bible, but apparently they did. And Orion. But ever since that I read the first channeled Palladian, which is back in the 80s, I felt a connection to the Palladian constellation. And I gave you a quote some time ago. Here it is, in fact, right here. Our ancestors believed we were informed here on earth by star constellations. Did the Mayas know that? Native Americans and other gazers, those who were the watchmen of the sky. They got information long before we did, which is pretty recent. They had it thousands of years ago and understood much of what we've learned through our science. They knew. They built towers. They built towers with certain ways to watch the constellations as they moved through the sky, and they received information. Our ancestors believed the stars had consciousness and were repositories of their stories and myths to the human mind that was open. That's why I love where Jesus said, "Look up, for your redemption draweth nigh." So, do I dare get into this? Maybe not yet. So, the Palladians and most indigenous teachers say in 3D, we are mostly asleep. So that didn't start with A Course in Miracles. Those of ancients knew that humanity had gone into a sleeping state where they produced dreams or illusions. So even the Bible, you can go from the Bible from the very time that Adam falls in vibration to the end where man is raised, and you'll see the cry for awake thou that sleepest. Shake thyself from the dust. Paul supposedly wrote, awake thou in sin and sin no more. So the word awake is all through here. Then, of course, the miracles came along with the whole idea you got to wake up from the dream, which is the world out there that you've made, which is an allusion to God's kingdom, which we've lost, which is the creation patterns that have been lost, and wake up and begin a ministry of repatterning what we've mispatterned. And by the way, that's the difference in create form. The Course is correct on that. That the true creator God, that we call it, created. And what he created then made a different version of what had been created. And the other word for form is miscreate. And that's in the Bible too. I won't go there and bore you with so much Bible, but that's all in there. It says very quickly that the creation of the Creator went back and looked at the Creator and recreated the Creator in their mind different than the Creator was. And that's how we end up with this concept of the old God out there in the sky. That's our miscreation of God. What did that do? It took the God in you out and put you into an old man out there in the sky somewhere that we have worshipped. And worship is a transference of energy and power to something. When you worship it, you are giving your energy to it. And therefore, this being, my big word for that is anthropomorphous. So, see what I'm saying? The true God created us in its image and likeness, and then we took and created that in our image and likeness. That's how it was an old man that looks like us. It's like an old human up there, because humans created in its image and likeness. And therefore, through religion, we disconnected ourselves to the anthropomorphic God out there and forgot the God that was in us. And the God that was in us was suppressed into the prison of our own unconsciousness. And I'm going to give you some more on the Bible today. I don't know why, but I'm going to give you. It says before Jesus changed into the fifth dimensional energy that he was, resurrection, that it said he went and preached to the spirit in prison. Why? Because the true God of spirit was imprisoned in the humanity because it had been disconnected for an old man out there called God. And he went in and he preached to the spirit, and he says, I don't know what he said, I'm ad-libbing, but he said, hold on, because there will be a generation that will be restored back to the God in us. And no longer will it be imprisoned. Is that making sense to you? That makes sense to you? And I think to know really that God is in you should be something that should vibrate every cell of your body. It's not an intellectual construct. So you went to a unity church, or you went to another thought, or you got a book, and it says God is within you, and you go, oh, I think I like that. I'm going to believe that. All you did was trade one third dimensional belief for another. I mean, to really know that all that God is dwells in you is a powerful experience. And I wonder how many people who believe it have experienced the connection to the God within themselves. So, this comes from a long way back that we are basically asleep. The third dimension, it says, is where we explore the full range of our emotions. And this is what is being charged right now in 3D because of the coming in more and more and intensifying of 4D, which we'll get to. But 4D is where everything becomes emotionally charged into a state of polarity. It charges the belief, I am not you and you are not me. And how it plays it out is by using labels. And right now the best one is conservative and liberal. Or vaccine, non-vaxxer. You hear that language all over the place. People are taking sides every day. Now, I know it looks bad. I know what it looks like. I know what it is to see all this playing out. But our place is to see beyond that and to see that there is about to be an intervention. Now, religion put that into a doctrine called the coming of Christ. Millions of literalist Christians are waiting for Jesus to come back. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have no problem. Let him come back. Come on. I'll welcome you. But I'd hate to see what they'd do to him if he did. First thing they're going to ask is, I want to see your credentials. The Baptist is going to ask, are you a Baptist? Everybody's going to want him to be what they think they are and what the religion is right, he has to be. And when he has said no to all of that, they'll crucify him again. So, it says about the coming, Bible, that it shall come in an hour and a day you think not, like a thief. For if the strong man in the house would have known, he would have been ready. Now that's some powerful stuff. So that means, and what I've been teaching for decades, and I don't know how much you've been under the teaching, is this whole hope for us is Christ in us. Christ in us, the hope of glory. Say it with me. Christ in us. Let's say Christ in me. Christ in me is the hope of glory. For because they have attached Christ to a body named Jesus, they think for Christ to come back, and Jesus is out there somewhere, that Christ can only come back in the form of a man named Jesus. While their Bible says, but Christ is already here. In you. So the coming of Christ is out of us. That's going to be the coming, the intervention that's going to turn everything around when enough of us have cleared. See, this is why clearing is so important. To clear out all the blockages, all of the karmic debt, all of the stuff that keeps Christ from manifesting into this third dimensional level. When all of that is cleared out and the portal is ready, Christ will come back through so many people that it will literally tip the world from destruction to rejuvenation, if you want to call it that. And where people are missing it, all I think about is keeping Christ in them. And right now we need more than a hope of Christ in us. The hope ain't going to do it. Get rid of the hope, and Christ in us. Clear it so Christ can become us. So that was one of my favorite scriptures. I started out teachings back in the 80s. Christ in you, the hope of glory. And I said at some point, then what's the glory? If I'm hoping for the glory, what is the glory? And I say to you that come from metaphysics and all of this within message, how wonderful it has been for all of us to know that God is within, Christ is within, the kingdom is within. But you can't keep it within. The world's not going to change with what's within you until it has a way to manifest through you and into the world. And that's why the work needs to be done. The clearing. And I won't get into all of that. So this is talking about that we're in a time of intense emotions. People are touchy. Emotions are high. Scared to say this. Don't know what to say to your kids, to your family. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it with friends. And some think the answer is just shut up and not say anything. I disagree. I think we should not go there. I think we should be able to have a civil conversation at a higher state of consciousness. I'd like to know why you believe what you believe. I'd like for you to know why I believe what I believe. Don't hide it under a bushel. They say that if we learn to orient ourselves by feelings in 3D, we will be able to explore 4D with confidence.
Say that again.
They say that if we learn to orient ourselves by feelings in 3D, we will be able to explore 4D with confidence. In other words, once you have the feeling of your oneness, of your authenticity, of your creation, of your divine purpose, your sole reason for being here, that's going to give you the confidence to go through the time of 4D, of the complete full breakdown of all the third dimensional models. In other words, what it's saying is being centered in your true self and being unmovable and not swayed by the world of appearance. This is important for third dimension, where physical and non-physical intersect. Now, if you think about this, this is kind of where we are. We can come here and we can do third dimensional things. Like singing is a third dimensional thing we do on Sunday morning. Music is kind of third dimensional. But it is a way to transcend if we use it right. If we don't use it as entertainment. This is why I do try to encourage a little more participation in things, because we're not here to entertain you people on Sunday morning. Greg, Paul, me, whoever's doing the music, whoever's doing singing, it's not so you can sit there and think, oh, that's nice. That was really good today. It's a way for to access the higher ascended self through frequency and vibration and intent. When I'm ministering, I'm not here so that you can judge it's a good sermon or not a good sermon or whatever. I'm here because I'm trying to awaken the innate intelligence of you so you can remember what the book of life is all about. This is not the book of life. The book of life is written within, but has been sealed up. Revelations 5. For I saw one in the Spirit, and he had a book written within with 7 seals. Then it says, but no one believed they were worthy to loose the seals until one raised up, called an elder, and said, dry your tears, you are worthy. Isn't that great? And that's what's missing, is our self-worthiness. That's what's holding us back until we know we are worthy to enter in to the secret place of the Most High, into the depths of the Christ consciousness. It'll remain sealed up by religion. So that has to not be just a teaching, but an experience. Everything we're doing here should not end up as another teaching or a belief or a construct. It is for to experience it. And that's what I keep looking at the crowd. Is somebody showing me an experience? Whether it's a or a whoa, shift in the chair. That's when I know experience is happening. But if you're just sitting there like this, I'm not sure what he's saying. Maybe that's okay. Oh well, I like him. I'll just take whatever he said. No, I want this to be a place for experience to happen. Experience it. And experience it any way in which you choose to do it. What is time? Time in 3D is the frequency-based view, simply a locator for past, present, and future. So Einstein was right. Time is an illusion. Time is not real, yet we accomplish things in 3D by using how we experience moving through space. And that's what we experience as time. And as I've said so many times, all of you would experience the same experience from getting to A to B differently. Some would think you got there quickly. Some would think I'd never got there. Because it is relative to how we experience it in time. So, my time's almost done, and again, I never feel like I get very far. And I guess you probably feel differently. See, there's I have a different experience with time than you do. So let's take this last few minutes for just a time of reflection, contemplation, and you that want to hang around just a few minutes after this. And I did want to greet those who are with us online today. I did not do that in the beginning, and I want to appreciate you that are joining us in the class this morning, and those who will download it later. We want to welcome you to this class. We'd love to hear from you. Let's take a deep breath. Let us take a time to feel the presence of the divine within. What would it feel like to you to really know and experience the divine within yourself? Breathe into that. What does it mean to you, God is within me, Spirit is within me? What does that mean to you as a human being? Maybe you might feel the power of it. That's a powerful thing to feel. If you know that all that is in you. Feel like what it is to have Christ consciousness, which is the mind of Creator. Somewhere in the mind of the third dimensional human, there is a mind within a mind, a place within a place. And in this place are the thoughts of God. In the brain are only thoughts about God. But in that special inner place is the thoughts of God. God thoughts, spirit thoughts, however you choose to call it. From there comes your aha moments. From there comes your epiphanies. From there comes a knowing that corrects your belief, oftentimes. What does it feel like to be an earthen vessel for the divine, to choose to incarnate in and with your soul incarnation? Feel your power. What does it feel like to know you are a co-creator, a joint heir with Christ? That you have the power to create and co-create and to birth and bring forth a new earth. What would it feel like to feel that kind of power? God is love. What does that love feel like to you that is different than the love you have for your dog or your children or your husband or your wife or your partner or your car or anything else that you love? What is it like to feel divine love? Totally unattached from all conditions. Feel what it is to be the very tabernacle of God, for God tabernacles in the human being and dwells in the temple of your spirit. What does it feel like to know that you have a tabernacle not made with hands from the heavens that can begin to give you a new body to correct the patterns of arthritis and any other disease or illness or sickness that has taken over your third dimensional body? What would that feel like if you morphed right now into a higher fifth dimensional container and left behind all of the lower third dimensional discrepancies, idiosyncrasies? What would it feel like to lift any anxiety, depression, or discouragement? Mental, emotional, or physical pain? Don't just think it, but feel it. Holy Spirit, continue to lead us and to guide us through this journey that we are on in this class until we continuously have that explosion of your presence into every cell of our body, into our nervous system, all the way to the bones of our bodies. Let's take a deep breath. Exhale. And when you're ready, you can return back into this space. All right, I want to thank you for your support for the class. Please continue to do so. Again, both the offering for the Sunday was all down and the class, so let's be mindful. Thank you so much for continuing your support, and you that do it automatically, thank you. Nice to have you today. Tell me your name again. I'm sorry. Shireen. We're glad to have you. Yes, thank you for coming. And
don't underestimate how much this affects us every minute of the day.
oh, okay.
Not just
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
happening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Maggie, it's good to see you back home.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Yeah, we're glad to see you. And Janice, again, we're glad to see you too.
Thank you so much.
All right. If you want to